We usually picture Alexander as an unstoppable conqueror, but his story actually begins with a fragile kingdom on the brink of collapse. By the time Alexander was a teenager, King Philip II had replaced traditional tribal levies with a professional standing army, arming his men with 18-foot pikes to create a military force that no other Greek state could match. Philip made sure his son received elite preparation for power. Ancient traditions tell us he even hired the philosopher Aristotle to tutor the young prince. This weathered Greek text represents the transmission of ancient accounts that closely link Alexander's intellectual worldview and military ideology to Homer and the Iliad. All of that elite philosophical and martial grooming faced an immediate test in 336 BCE. Philip was suddenly assassinated, creating a lethal power vacuum that threatened to erase Alexander before he even began. Inside Macedonia, powerful elites and rival claimants looked at the 20-year-old king and saw an opportunity to seize the throne for themselves. Outside the borders, subject Greek states and neighboring powers sensed that same weakness, immediately preparing to rebel against Macedonian control. Surrounded by enemies on all sides, Alexander's survival depended entirely on acting faster and more decisively than the people trying to replace him. He started here, at the geographic and political center of Macedonia, where he had to act first to legitimize his reign. His initial strategic maneuver was rapidly reasserting total control over the Macedonian military apparatus, locking down the army's loyalty before his rivals could sway them. With the military behind him, he moved with intense logistical speed. He executed targeted political purges, systematically neutralizing internal rivals before they could form a coordinated opposition. These swift domestic actions centralized all state authority directly into the young king's hands. But surviving the Macedonian court meant little if the rest of the Greek world refused to bow to his authority. The ultimate test of his new regime came in 335 BCE, when the major Greek city of Thebes revolted against Macedonian rule. The geopolitical stakes were clear. If Thebes successfully broke away and went unpunished, Philip's entire empire would fracture. Alexander responded with a forced military march south that covered hundreds of miles in just 2 weeks, trapping the rebellion before it could spread. He captured Thebes, ordered much of the city destroyed, and inflicted severe violence upon those who resisted. Leveling the city was a calculated strategy of terror. The destruction of Thebes signaled to the ancient world that he demanded absolute submission. Looking at this portrait of the young king, we see the result of those early years. By crushing dissent at home and abroad, Alexander fully secured his throne as an absolute dictator. With a unified military and a secure rear, he could finally execute his father's grand vision, the invasion of the Persian Empire. In 334 BCE, he officially launched the campaign, crossing into Asia Minor and securing his first major victory against Persian forces at the Granicus River. This famous mosaic depicts the momentum of a campaign that, in just 10 years, would overrun the Persian capital and reach as far as the Indian subcontinent. The legacy of this campaign remains contradictory. His incredible military brilliance existed alongside mass destruction, enslavement, and an enormous human cost for defeated communities. Alexander secured the absolute authority needed for his empire during those first violent months, turning a vulnerable transition into a total consolidation of power. Alexander began ruling at 20 and was dead at 32. His story leaves us with a difficult question. Does greatness come from the vast territory a ruler conquers, or from what survives after the conqueror is gone? Follow Echoes of History for the true stories behind history's most unforgettable personalities.